Welcome to Men-torshowcaseMagazine, newly formed by Love in Motion Productions. Men-torshowcaseMagazine will feature local and national untold stories of those giving back to others. We invite you to view our other pages and see an array of services we are offering to the community. Come and join us. We're excited to have you be a part of our new beginning as we seek to build lives and help others to succeed in leaving a living legacy.
Hello, and welcome to Men-torshowcase Magazine, where we feature ordinary people doing extraordinary things. I'm your host, Jerry Gibson, and tonight's guest is CEO of Men-torshowcase Magazine, Minister J. Dominique Coleman. And our subject matter today is birthing destiny out of the death of a loved one. Ms. Coleman, how you doing? It's
blessed.
a fun, pleasing pleasure to have you here.
Oh, I'm glad to be here.
I'm glad you're here.
I guess.
Let's get right down to it. You have a subject here that kind of touched me because I've lost a loved one, so I kind of sort of know the impact of that. But I'm not being interviewed, so let me go ahead and talk about you and what's going on here. How do you overcome such a loss when you've lost a loved one?
Well, overcoming a loss is not an easy challenge. You have grief and it's long term.
Yeah.
It really never goes away. It's a permanent state of just knowing that one you won't see again.
You just kind of learn to live with it and continue to function forward, you know.
Yeah, I think that you function, but you don't just function.
Yeah.
You live.
Yeah.
You have to live. You can't just function in life. You have to live through it. And so I live through it through prayer. I live through it through God's grace and mercy. That's how I live through it.
Yeah.
And each day it's different.
Yeah. I can remember losing my mother. My mother was my best friend, my confidant. I mean, she knew me. She could look at me and tell if something was wrong with me. And when I lost her, it was years that went by that I lived in a fog. Did you experience something similar to that?
My experiences were quite different, I think, than the everyday person that loses someone. I kind of got in touch with God. I was already in touch with God, but He sent the Holy Spirit to me. So He sent the Comforter. So as I was going through, it was like a new awakening. I found myself ministering to people opposed to people ministering to me.
Wow.
In the hour of my bereavement.
So it was kind of a reverse thing for you. Because for me, I questioned God.
And a lot of people do.
I questioned why is it that He would, allow something to happen. You start to say, well, she was a good person, this, that, and the other. God, where were you? I mean, you helped so-and-so live through this, that, and the other. Why not, my loved one? And you find he does answer you, if you listen.
And there's a season.
Yeah.
A lot of times we don't think about it at the time of the death of our loved one, but there's a season for everything. There's a time to live, and there's a time to die. There's a time to be born. So, and the loss of my son, it was a time for him to pass on.
Yeah.
Because other things had to be birthed.
Yeah. See, I didn't understand that at the time. I understand it better today, but it's been 9 going on 10 years for me, and as a result of that, I'm in a position now to help people or to talk to people because on my job, there have been people who've lost their parents, and I've been able to talk to them or minister to them, and it's like, wow, and they'll come to me and ask advice, what's happening to me? Why do I feel like this? and I'm able to say, this is a process, and you don't get over it, you live through it,
Right, right. And you have to remember that we are all ministers of the gospel. So a lot of times uh, we need to take that moment to not just be self-consumed.
Yeah.
I wasn't self-consumed. In fact, I found it quite strange at the time that I seemed to be happy,
Wow.
and I didn't understand why.
Yeah.
And God gives you that peace, it gives you that happiness.
Yeah.
So I questioned early on, why are you so happy?
Why?
It was a bright sunny day, the day of the funeral and things of that nature, and I was happy. And I said, Lord, why am I so happy?
Wow.
Yeah, I found that to be strange. But, out of that, there's a lot of things that come forth, the birthing of a lot of different things.
Well, that leads into the next question. What can come from a loss, such as the death of a loved one? What are some of the things that happen for you?
Well, for many people, they immerse yourself in the pain and the grief. Uh, and, that's different for everyone.
Right.
It's not always the same. But for me, God had me positioned to minister to other people. And out of my son's death was birthed many different things. My ministry was brought forward even the more at the time.
Right.
Birth of fashion witness wear, the Love and Motion clothing. And at that time, I didn't even know that was in me.
Right.
I didn't know that I had that in me or that I had a desire to do anything like that there. And it was not even a desire. It was something that God had just given me to do, to minister to the people.
Right.
Because there's so many people out there that don't think about the things that they do and the effect that they have on other people's lives. For going around, and some people die of natural causes, other people die from other people's actions. And so my son died because of somebody else's actions.
Right.
But out of that, God brought forth the Love and Motion witness wear. Out of that, God brought forth my ministry. Out of that, God brought forth the Men-torshowcaseMagazine.
Right.
Out of that, God brought forth the Love and Motion song, the agape love.
Right.
So God did a lot of things, and He's still doing things even to this day.
You have a scholarship too in honor of your son. Am I not correct?
Yeah. And there's a lot of things that you can do. You can create scholarships.
Right.
Everyone doesn't travel the same road,
Right.
But I was led to do a scholarship.
Right.
So along with the other things that I mentioned, the scholarship also came into existence where I've given scholarships out to students that wrote an essay, had reasonable grades in school.
Right.
They didn't have to be A students.
Right.
All they had to do was to be a student and tell how they could be a part of the solution and not the problem.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So being a part of the solution is a big thing.
Let me ask you, when you do the scholarship, and the scholarship is named in honor of your son.
Yes,
correct?
it is. It's the Donald James Love Memorial Scholarship Fund.
Okay. Does it feel like sometimes he's there, his presence is there when when you actually give one of those scholarships? Do you feel like that's something that he's looking down and saying, "Yeah, Ma, you hanging in there"?
Yeah. I do feel that he's there all the time,
Right.
even when I'm not actually, doing the scholarship at any particular time.
Right.
But he's always with me in terms of his spirit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had that feeling.
I see the fire that you have and the devotion that you have to the magazine and some of the events that I've been involved in that you've actually put on, and you operate in a different spirit. I mean, from the prep stage to the actual putting on of the presentation, you two different people, and it's like okay, we're serious about this. You produce this thing, and it has a nice overtone. I mean, when people are there, they're like, wow, you know, how did you make this happen? You know, or what can I do? You know, so when you put on a presentation or a show or people, you motivate them to want to give or to want to be a part or tell their story. And so for that, I mean, I enjoy, if nothing else, I enjoy being in the company of that kind of that kind of energy.
Well, the magazine took on a form later on after my son's death, and it came out of the healing of my grandson.
Okay.
Because he was struggling. Because a lot of people ask, or they get mad at God because, someone they love have been taken away from them.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so in 2008, right on the heels of the presidential election of Barack Obama, was the first magazine that came out.
Wow.
The Men-torshocase magazine. In fact, I have a couple of them here now.
Right.
This was one of the very first magazines that came out. Okay. And it has evolved since then.
Right.
And it also has, some congratulations to our 44th president.
Right.
And I'm just going to show you this here. And anyone that's interested can always, order or get one of our archives and take a look at it.
Okay.
Basically, it's giving congratulations to the 44th president of the United States, President Barack Obama. This was the very first one.
That might be a keepsake.
Oh, no question.
know?
And it's evolved since then. It's taken on a different look each time over the years. And this was the very second one that came out. And as you notice, the logos are different.
Right.
And so this magazine basically is talking about ordinary people doing extraordinary things.
Right.
And it developed out of the fact that we have to be willing to give back. We have to be willing to share with others.
Mm-hmm.
We have to be willing to tell our story so it can help someone else along the way.
Yeah.
So that their situations may not be repeated.
Right.
Or someone can learn from it. Someone can take on some responsibility and help somebody else.
Right.
And then it developed from these two to this one, which is our newest one, which is a smaller version with our new logo on it.
Okay.
And it's still Men-torshowcaseMagazine. It just has a different logo in terms of how the logo is featured.
Gotcha.
Okay, and basically, we want to tell stories of people that are giving back to their fellow man.
Okay.
We want to tell stories about people that have been beneficiaries from someone giving back. We want to tell stories about organizations and businesses. We want to tell stories about individuals. You can be a student. Okay. You could be anyone that's giving back, that's helping someone else to do positive things. So we've featured those, and we have different programs that are involved in this magazine that you can easily look into on the website.
Well, let me ask you, why is it so important that you feature people who are giving back? I noticed that's the premise of the magazine, but I mean, why is that so important to you?
Well, it started out with showing that you don't have to do negative things to get attention. You don't have to do negative things to get attention. Okay. We have to encourage our youth in terms of stop the violence, because the violence is what is taking a lot of our youth today.
Yeah.
And not just youth, because my son was not a youth, but he was a young man.
Right.
But the youth were the ones that partook in his demise. Yeah. Right. I mean, because they're encouraged by other people to do things.
Right.
It's like a certain badge of honor if you go hurt someone. Yeah. You can join the group.
Yeah.
Different gangs and things of that nature.
Yeah, it's sad that that's how what we come to. Whereas, as opposed to saying, if you do this good thing, you will get a badge of honor. But it's like, no, if you go and hurt somebody, then we recognize you. You can come in because we understand what level you're willing to sink to.
Yes.
and that's a sad reality.
Yes. And my son was a youth counselor.
Wow.
So as a youth counselor, he encouraged the young men and young women to not be a part of the gang activity, the street activity,
Yes.
the drug activity. And this is one of the reasons why they had it in for him, because they don't want you to discourage the kids not to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So being a youth counselor, and the things that he did, that was another reason why the magazine came forth. So it was the birthing of a healing for my grandson, and it was a birthing of a ministry for young people to encourage them. They can look and read something about other people that are doing positive things.
Right.
A lot of times we have a lot of magazines, but they're not giving the same information to really encourage the youth to do positive things.
Yeah, a lot of them are dealing.
In fact, this is the only magazine of its kind.
Wow, isn't that something? Let me ask you this: for me, the therapy for me when my mom passed, I did a one-man show. Do you consider the magazine and all the other things you have started as a result of your son passing? Has that been therapy for you as well?
I didn't look at it as therapy, but I could say that yeah, I could look at it as that. I mean, early on, I just thought that I was commissioned to do these things. So I guess God give you things, and we sometimes don't see it as therapy, or we don't see it as the thing that we're supposed to do or being propelled to do.
Right.
We just look at we're going to do something, but we don't realize that it's a destiny that has been set in place. Because had that not been set in place, I wouldn't be here today.
I agree. Well, I'm definitely glad that you're here. I'm not glad of the circumstances that brought you here, but God knows better than than all of us. And oftentimes, He knows what our next moments are going to be, and He always have a comforter there to kind of help us navigate the waters that we're going to go through. Ms. Dominique, how did you find yourself giving back to others in their time of loss?
Well, I was put on the stage of, being in front of other people, speaking after my son's passing. And from that, I was called by numerous different people to come, that someone in their family had been, or died, and they needed to just talk. So I went and I talked to different people. So that was a moment that I spent counseling, and there was a moment that I spent at the VA hospital. When I did the Love and Motion t-shirts, I spent a lot of time at the VA hospitals. What I thought was just sharing the Love and Motion witness wear was really showing the love in motion. Where I was placed in a position to pray for people, where the veterans were going in for operations and their family members were requesting me to pray for their family member. And so I was placed in a position where I had to pray for people. And so, I didn't realize it at the time until I was doing it.
Gotcha.
So at the time that I began to pray for people, I had the witness wear, and the witness wear was love in motion. It's like God's love in motion.
Right.
God's love has been in motion from the beginning of time.
Right.
And that's what God gave me. I didn't create that myself. God created it.
Remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't that something?
So, yeah, that's how I began to give back, and one thing led into another, and I still, to this day, doing things that would say, praying for different people and outreach ministry. So, yeah.
For those who are interested in, say, giving back, maybe they haven't lost a loved one, but they're passionate and they want to give back. What advice would you give them?
Well, they could give back by supporting the magazine, and they could give back by supporting the Love and Motion clothing. The Love and Motion clothing store will be online in the next couple of weeks. The magazines are available through Men-torshowcaseMagazine.com. And so anyone can request a t-shirt. We have t-shirts, we have hats, scarves, or they can give to the scholarship, the Donald James Love II Memorial Scholarship.
Say if a person wanted to volunteer some time,
Well,
do you have
well, we always need people.
always need people?
Always need people. We need writers.
Need writers?
We need people to help with the magazine, and
Okay.
we have different areas. And whatever your area of expertise, or maybe you're not an expert, maybe you just want to be a part of a magazine. We'll find the spot for you.
Okay. All right. So if a person is interested in finding out more information, where would they go?
They would go to Men-torshowcaseMagazine.com,
Right.
and they can call at 404-764-6381.
You sure about that?
Yeah, I had to think about it. Yeah,
Listen.
I rarely ever call myself. So yeah, they can do that. And we're always in need for writers. We're looking for writers to come help out with the magazine.
Okay. Ms. Dominique, how do you feel?
So
After
wonderful.
all and everything that has happened, how do you feel?
I feel wonderful. I know that it's only just begun. It's only just begun. This is not the beginning.
Okay.
This is the beginning of the beginning.
Okay. Well, you know what? I appreciate you for all that you do. I appreciate you being unselfish, and allowing me to be here. I hope that I haven't let you down, and I intend to get better as time goes along. And for all of you that are interested in finding out more information, please go to Men-torshowcaseMagazine.com and like us on Facebook and watch this interview in its entirety. And Mrs. Dominique, thank you so much.
Thank you.
For allowing me the pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Questions and comments, also please go to Men-torshowcase Magazine.